Okay, we're back to our discussion of layouts in ArcMap, and what I want to do next is insert an inset map to show where in the United States Florida is. Now I know that seems like an obvious statement, but again, if you're not from the United States, this might actually be quite important. So in order to do this, what I've already done is added a data frame and set the data frame to the same projection properties as the data frame above. So you'll notice I have layers, and then I have a new data frame here. And then what I'm going to do is drag the data set down into the new data frame. You'll see that we see the United States here as well as Alaska and Florida. I'm going to zoom in on just the continental United States. Now, in order to indicate where the main map, that is the mapped area, is in the rest of the continent, what I need to do is right-click on the new data frame, that is my inset data frame, go to its properties, and then select the Extent Indicator tab and move my mapped area over to the Extent Indicator area here. Now my frame can be done in a couple of different ways. I can, in this case, this is a red frame. I can change that to any number, and in this case I'm going to change it to a black frame, and click OK and apply. And what you'll notice is that in fact there's now a box that shows where on the entire continental United States the main mapped area is. This is what we call an inset map with an indicator area. And so I'm going to move this map frame a little bit down into our corner, and so it shows kind of where we are. Now, so we've essentially covered the frame line, which is here, and our inset map. And if we wanted to add a neat line, and there's a little bit of a misnomer in Arc, you'll notice that it has neat line as an option, but it is one that we can select to place around different data frames. So in this case, we could in fact put a line or a boundary around our inset map or around our main frame. And that would be, if I put it around the main frame and it went to the edge of the paper, we would really call that a frame line. If, on the other hand, I moved this up, and I'll give you an example of this, if we said, well, in fact, in reality, I want to put some of this information outside of my mapped area, then this would be a neat line if I had information down here in the bottom. Now we have this as a neat line. In any case, if I click on any data frame and activate it, right-click, choose Activate, then when I say Insert Neat Line, and for example I'm going to put just a very thick neat line so that we can see it, you'll notice that for whatever is the active frame, we're going to see that. And so now I have this one as a bold line around it, and now this one is active, and I'm going to say Insert, again, Neat Line, in this case, again, a nice bold line. And now we have, again, our neat line in this case, and then our inset line. Now, in my opinion, the inset line is a little bit too heavy, so I'm going to activate that. And again, when I look at this one, I'm going to say, well, the properties of it are a little bit too much, and that's our frame. And so I'm going to drop that down. And again, once you've created a frame, they appear in the data frame's properties. I'm going to apply that one, and you'll notice that that drops it to a little bit more manageable. So now we have a neat line, a inset, and again, I don't believe that it's appropriate to have a neat line in this case, so I'm going to bring this again back all the way down, and now we have a frame line. Alright, we've added our title, and again, titles properties, we can always get by right-clicking on them. Click on the properties, that gives us our text and our changed symbols. And you'll notice that this is what we call a dynamic text, meaning that this is a Python scripted piece of information. And so if you want to do it this way, this is a dynamic text, we could also do this in simply a manual text insert. And again, the manual text inserts are found in the Draw Tools dialog. We'll get to that in a minute. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert our legend, and in this case it's going to be a very, very simple legend. We will talk about these in another video clip. But under, again, insert and legend, and you'll notice that in this case, since we have 3 data sets up at the top, these data sets are possible here. Now we have one already over, and so what I'm going to do is bring that one over, and we're going to say Florida States Generalized. I'm going to add that, and I'm going to hit next. And remember, the near legend, we don't really want to put legend. In this case, we would simply put state boundaries. Since our font size in our title is at 24, I believe, font size of 18 would be appropriate here. Again, we're going to stay in the same font family, Arial here, Arial here. Click on next, and in this case, I don't feel that I need a border, but you certainly could insert a border. And we will then use a general. We don't want to be using a urbanized area in this case. We're going to use a standard rectangle, and we're going to hit finish. And you'll notice that now we have a very simple legend that I can move throughout the map and determine where it needs to be. Data sources, you'll notice that our inserts are also this idea of dynamic text, and you'll notice that many of the pieces of information will appear here, including author, username, document name, path, and then information about each of the pieces. Now, any one of these can be added as dynamic text. Dynamic text in this case means that it's going to grab information internal to the data. So, for example, if I used the coordinate system, you'll notice that all of our information from our projection properties would appear here. In many cases, though, this is one of the situations where you actually want to simply type your information. And the easiest way to do that is we're going to go to Customize, Toolbars, and we're going to add the Draw Tool option. I'm just going to dock that up here. And in this case, I want to add text, and the text will come here, and I will simply say, there's my text, and I'm going to type data provided by Florida Department of Waterway Management. Now, I can also click on that, and it will open up a dialog box here. And in this case, again, Arial 10 information is here. If you want to enter in a return, I can do it that way and apply. And now our text has been formatted, and I can move that to where I need to. Again, next piece is our scale. And in this case, because our map, we are simply interested in the general size of things, I'm going to insert a scale bar. And in this case, I'm going to use, and there are a number of scale bars available, but in this case, I'm going to use one of the simpler ones. You notice all sorts of scale bars are available here. There are purposes in the different ones that we will talk about in a little bit, but in this case, I'm going to use a standard stepped scale bar. And in this case, in terms of its properties, I'm going to use miles. And we're going to have the number of divisions at 4, the number of subdivisions at 0. And we will hit apply, and OK, and OK, and there is our scale bar. And again, that generally speaking should be centered towards the bottom of the map. All right, the last one of these is what we call orientation, and in the case of this map, what I'm interested in is a graticule orientation, because I know that north and south is not up and down. Again, in this case, what I will be doing is right-clicking on Layers, going to its Properties, and clicking on the Grid, New Grid, and I want a graticule, and a graticule, remember, means the lines of latitude and longitude. Now, because I'm mapping a fairly broad area, I'm going to put this at 10 degrees for parallels and 10 degrees for meridians. And you'll notice that I have a black line style. And I'm going to click Finish and Apply. And you'll notice that now I have a set of graticules. Now one of the things that you'll notice is that with 10 degrees, I don't really have enough of them represented. So I can go back into my graticule and I can change its properties. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to say, for this graticule, I would like it to occur at a different set of spacing. So I'm going to go to my interval tab and I'm going to change that to 5. And hit apply. And OK. And apply one more time. And now you'll see that it looks a little bit better on my map. And I can see that everything is present. Now the other thing that you will note here though is that in looking at where the labels are, they fall outside of my printable area. See that this really isn't where I want it to be. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back out and I'm going to then move my map interior by selecting my corners so that all of my graticule labels appear on the map. And so now we have all of our pieces. I'm going to move our scale up and our legend up and our source and our inset map. And now all of our pieces are there. We'll need our title a little bit down. Now, there are a number of things that need to be modified in this map so that each of the pieces does not overlap. But in the next video, we'll talk about cleaning up a map like this.